The meeting room overlooked the parking lot of the hotel. From the window you could see the faded sign I'd helped hang 9 years earlier. The letters had been replaced twice since then, but the metal frame was still the one I bolted into the wall myself. The table in front of us was covered in paperwork, ownership forms, legal agreements, the power of attorney that had been in my name for almost a decade. My father sat at the head of the table, my mother beside him. Across from me was Callum, my younger brother, who had been back in town for exactly 5 days. 5 days. He leaned back in his chair like he'd always belonged there. I watched him spin a pen between his fingers. Outside, a guest dragged a suitcase across the pavement. That sound, wheels against concrete, had been the background noise of my life for nearly 10 years. The hotel didn't exist when I first came back to help my parents. Just an empty building and a mortgage none of us could really afford. I remembered the first winter when the boiler failed, and I spent 2 nights sleeping in the basement beside the pipes. The summer we had 3 employees quit in 1 week, and I cleaned 20 rooms myself. The year we almost lost the place, when bookings dropped, and I negotiated with the bank until midnight. None of those memories felt dramatic, just long days, quiet responsibility. Dad cleared his throat. "We've been thinking about the future," he said. His voice had that formal tone people use when the decision has already been made. Callum stopped spinning the pen. Dad continued. "You've done a lot for this place," he told me. "We know that." A pause. Then he nodded toward my brother. "But Callum deserves a chance too." The room stayed still for a moment. Mom folded her hands together, like she was hoping the gesture would soften something. "He's got new ideas," she added. Callum smiled slightly. Dad slid a document across the table. "We're transferring operational control," he said, "effective immediately." My eyes moved over the paper. I didn't need to read it. I already knew what it said. Callum leaned forward. "So I'm running the place now?" he asked. Dad nodded. "Congratulations, Callum. You deserve it more." More. That word hung in the room longer than anyone seemed to notice. I looked down at the power of attorney in my hands. 9 years. All the authority they had given me when the hotel was struggling. All the decisions I'd made to keep it alive. The document felt surprisingly light. I placed it on the table. No speech, no argument, just the soft sound of paper against wood. Callum blinked. "That's it?" he asked. I shrugged. "You wanted control," I said quietly. Dad seemed relieved. Mom gave a tight smile. They thought the moment had passed cleanly, but I had been preparing for it for months. Maybe longer. I stood up. "There's one more thing," I said. I slid an envelope across the table toward Callum. "For you." He looked confused but took it. I didn't explain. I didn't need to. Then I picked up my jacket. "Where are you going?" Mom asked. "Home," I said. Technically it was true. Just not the one they meant. I left the hotel through the side door. The same door I had unlocked every morning for 9 years. The hallway smelled faintly of cleaning solution and old carpet. Outside, the air felt strange, not heavier. Just unfamiliar. Like stepping out of a building where you had been holding your breath longer than you realized. I got into my car. For the first time in almost a decade, I had nowhere I needed to be inside that building. Back in the meeting room, Callum finally opened the envelope. Inside was a letter, and several attached documents. He started reading out loud, then stopped. His expression shifted slowly from curiosity to confusion. "What is this?" he said. Dad frowned. "Just read it." Callum kept scanning the pages. His voice grew sharper. "These are contract notices." Mom leaned closer. "What kind?" Callum flipped through the attachments. "Vendor agreements, staffing clauses, financing guarantees." His eyes widened. "Wait." He read a paragraph again. Then looked up. "You resigned." Dad frowned. "Resigned from what?" Callum held up the letter. "He withdrew all operational guarantees." The room went quiet. Mom's voice dropped. "What does that mean?" Callum turned another page. It means the bank loan was partially secured by his management certification. Dad's face tightened. And the supplier contracts were negotiated through him. Another page, and half the senior staff have opt-out clauses if he leaves. Mom sat back slowly. Callum read the last line of the letter, then slammed it on the table. "Are you kidding me?" The words echoed against the walls. Dad stared at the paperwork like it had suddenly changed language. For the first time since the meeting began, no one spoke. Outside the window, guests kept arriving. Suitcases rolling across the pavement. Cars pulling into the parking lot. The hotel looked exactly the same as it had that morning, but the quiet structure that had been holding everything together had just walked out the side door. By the time I reached the highway, the town was already shrinking in the rearview mirror. 9 years. I expected anger. Or regret. Instead there was just a steady calm. The hotel would keep running. Maybe Callum would figure it out. Maybe he wouldn't. But for the first time since I was 23, the weight of proving my loyalty to people who expected it without question was gone. And the road ahead felt strangely open.